Welcome back, one and all, to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola, and I am just super overwhelmed. We have Brett on the show. Brett, come here because you're involved in why I'm overwhelmed. Most people don't probably know that I think Brett and I have very different mornings.
Yeah,
I woke up at 5:30 to start dealing with my daughter who is sick.
Up before you. Go ahead.
Sure, whatever. And then I come to work, we do our production meeting, we produce and everything. So by the time we're about to go live, I've already expended more than half of my energy for the day.
Yeah.
And then I log onto the call and Brett is just chatting it up. He's got stories, he's talking about food, he's talking about images. And so I'm like, what is going on as I get on the call? I am super overwhelmed. I don't even remember what's on the rundown anymore because I've been on such a wild narrative ride with Brett Erlich. Brett, what say you?
I woke up at 4:51 this morning because I had a responsibility to take care of my children, John and Jordan. Jordan and I were up very early in the morning because in Los Angeles, that is when the LA City golf times come available. Is it 6 a.m. 9 days ahead if you have like your golfer card that you pay like?
Oh, so this is for next weekend?
This is for next weekend.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we have a time for this weekend.
I've obliquely mentioned this before, but there's like a severely huge scandal involving like organized crime and Korean men in Los Angeles where they gamed this online system for so long. But like all the people like us in Los Angeles, including the Korean mafia, are trying to get their tea times at the same time at 6 a.m. But they had hacked the system, so everyone was losing their mind because they had a computer program that would just book it all, and then they would sell off the times to Korean men's clubs for a profit. And we're both there, like, let's do it. We got our I got my wallet out, like I'm ready to go at 6 a.m. And Jordan got a time. And as he was buying it, I was getting error messages. I was freaking out, and he was freaking out because the payment wouldn't go through. He's like, I got 9 o'clock at this one course. And I was like, all right, great, or whatever, 10 o'clock at this one course. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta fix my thing. And as I fixed my thing, his thing finally broke. So I got the time he originally booked. Oh, I think we all are pretty excited. I think we all had a good time during that story.
We are excited, but
we all really enjoyed ourselves.
That story was the experience I had to start off the day. It's like there's just so much going on.
Oh man.
But anyway, I appreciate you doing that great work because I don't know how to do that, and I do rely on you. And we are supposed to play this Sunday. It is raining, and just because lest we've lost some of our relatability with that whole thing about competing with the Korean mafia for golf tee times and everything. Let me just bring it back down to my emotional experience. If we get rained out on Sunday, I'm going to lose because I have been emotionally looking forward to us playing so much that if it doesn't happen, I don't know what I'm going to do. So everybody just realize that's the thin ground I'm on psychologically right now.
I don't get to say frequently that I'm the best at anything. But among our friend group, I'm by far the best at golf, and it seems like I take it the least seriously, and I really enjoy that.
No, you are clearly the best, and yes, you do take it the least seriously. No, I don't take the game seriously. I'm not like competitive or whatever.
But I
just want to go,
warrior.
I want to play. But anyway, I'll have more to say about that later on, I'm sure. And we will be talking about golf. Actually, our members' content. We're going to be talking about the LPGA debut of Donald Trump's granddaughter, Kai Trump, and how it went. And I have thoughts kind of about golf, but mostly about the Trumps and about billionaires and all that. And so if you're a member, you can go watch that later on today or sign up and you can become a member. You can get that as well as hundreds of other member exclusive clips. Anyway, with that said, I think that we should eventually get around to talking about something other than the Korean mafia and golf. So we're gonna talk about the news, about inflation, about Jeffrey Epstein, about the fight between MAGA and Donald Trump. That is a rift that is now growing. Later on, we'll be doing our garbage people of the week. Of course, if you're on the podcast, definitely go to the channel, you can check that out. But with all that said, Brett, are you ready to do this thing?
Whether I am or not, you've been more than fair.
Hold on. There is some sort of fight going on between a producer and your wife. I can't follow it right now, but I'm very curious. Somebody please clip it for the thing. And thank you, Brett. Let's jump into the news. Trump appears to be, at least behind closed doors, finally admitting defeat on his signature policy, that being doing everything he can to make things more expensive for you and your family. Of course, tariffs are the biggest one of those things. And he's implied since getting elected that tariffs are awesome, there's no downside, and they solve literally every problem. But the thing is, they don't. That's not how any of that works. And they have raised prices for the American taxpayer. And so, with the recent election going so poorly for the Republicans, and this crisis starting to develop between Donald Trump and many of his followers and some of their representatives like Marjorie Greene on the topic of affordability, all of them are like, hey, Zoran Mamdani's running away with this thing. Maybe we could do something to bring down prices. And it looks like they're gonna do that. It looks like they're actually going to be scaling back the tariffs at least a little bit. And so we're going to brand this under Trump tacoing once again, him saying, no, this is awesome, I'm gonna stand strong on this. And thankfully, he is running for the hills. This is Trump cowardice, though, that I am glad to see, because I want these prices to go down. And I think that in some cases, this could result in that. Although, as we're gonna get into, not necessarily as much as he might hope. So they're apparently preparing broad exemptions to certain tariffs in an effort to ease especially elevated food prices. That seems to be the thing they're focusing on now. We'll see where it goes from there. The change would apply to certain reciprocal tariffs that the president announced in April, including on products coming from countries that have not struck trade deals with the administration. That is an important point that we will return to. The exemptions are expected to include beef and citrus products, although the people cautioned that President Trump has not made a final decision. But here's the issue. So we know that, like, for instance, the tariffs on Brazil, that makes things from Brazil cost more. That includes things like coffee, stuff like that. The issue is that lowering them might not totally ease the problem at this point. So the CEO and co-founder of Helios AI, a food chain supply management company, told Axios lower tariffs may help at the margins, but consumers shouldn't expect a big drop in prices because the climate risks pushing coffee specifically higher are unchanged. I just wanted to focus on that because nobody talks about climate change anymore, and I feel like we've all just sort of given up on doing absolutely anything about that. And that's gonna be bad for a lot of reasons having to do with the climate, with our health and all that. But also, I just wanna remind everyone, it's gonna raise the cost of a number of goods around the world, particularly agricultural products. And so that is still a problem. We're not doing anything about that, and he's not even tacoing on the topic of the climate, unfortunately. And also in that email to Axios, they pointed out that the tariff relief being talked about right now only encompasses about 7% of US imports. So there's still a lot of issues. And I want everyone to remember that while tariffs have driven prices up across a wide range of different product categories, in the area of food, like, yes, it has contributed to that, but there's a lot of other things that Trump has done that have contributed to that he isn't indicating that he's backtracking on. In particular, their mass deportation scheme. We said ahead of time that was gonna drive up the cost of food, and it is. We're not yet seeing any massive reductions in tariffs on Canada or Mexico particularly. That's gonna have a big effect on agricultural products. And so this might be something, but it might not be much. And there's also some ripple effects too, in that if he wants to, in his mind, maybe do very limited reductions of tariffs on agricultural products, he's gonna do that. But that also hurts his quest to, for instance, get those trade deals he's been talking about. He had talked about having 90 trade deals in 90 days, and obviously they got like 6 in 9 months and counting. So that was never gonna happen. But these reciprocal tariffs, as he calls them, were a tool to try to get those trade deals to happen. If he's now starting to poke holes in that, which I'm glad that he is, and I don't care if he ever gets these new trade deals, but from his point of view, it is gonna reduce his leverage to get those deals. So this is a very late change in this policy, and I think it can potentially help a little bit, and he could certainly use the help going to the midterms, but it also has some secondary side effects that I think could be tough for Trump in other areas. Brett, what do you make of all this?
So in politics, if you're losing in any given issue area, typically what you do is you just pick another issue area and you focus on that and hope the conversation is about that. And Trump is the best at doing basically something they teach you not to do, which is to tell people who are suffering that they're doing fine. He's a really good liar. He's great at telling, like, whenever the Democrats go, like when the Kamala's like, the Biden economy is strong, everybody's like, I just doesn't feel that way. I'm sorry. But Trump is the person who goes, the price of milk is much lower now. Gas is free. And he only this time is not able to get everyone to go along with him on that. Add a little Epstein cracks and all that stuff. And he is obviously panicking. How do I know? He's changing his position, which usually he just takes two conflicting positions. He doesn't ever really undo something he previously did. And in this scenario, that is exactly what's happening, which should show you just how dire he perceives the situation to be. Like, he never apologizes when he does anything wrong. In this time, he's basically trying to roll back tariffs.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, we're just like, we lose our leveraging anyway. And as James Carville said, originally of the Perot run in 1991 or 92, it was, that's the single biggest act of masturbation in history, is this tariff thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also, by the way, we were warned by Donald Trump that getting rid of these tariffs would be an economic apocalypse for America. So I'm a little bit worried about that going forward. Of course, that was just another lie. But anyway, so look, I think that they're trying to come up with something. They've got to like very narrowly thread between different issue areas. They need to be seen to be doing something, and he has been doing, as you said, sort of lying about the cost of things. The issue is that while he might be, in your view, comparatively better at selling that sort of lie, I don't think he's been doing an amazing job of it so far. And the issue is that you see Trump on TV saying the price of milk is down, but then like the counter argument is when you go to the grocery store and you look at the price, and the number doesn't really lie. And so I want to talk about that and about how much people are actually paying additionally for these products over, what Trump might make them want them to believe they're paying. But we're going to start with this, a little reminder of some of his messaging.
Grocery prices are way down. Groceries are down. And now, as you know, groceries are down. We've gotten prices way down for groceries.
The fact is that these claims are just not true. It wasn't true when President Trump claimed earlier this year that grocery prices were down. It's not true now.
Yeah, and that's sort of a problem, and he keeps claiming it. And generally, he does it in the way that you just saw right there. Grocery prices are down. So groceries broadly, groceries, by the way, being a word that he invented a couple of months ago, lest you forget. Nobody ever used the word before, but it's very convenient. I like using it. Groceries generally are down. Generally. But remember, he also makes some very specific claims. He has said for about, almost a year now that gas is down to $2. Very specifically, he says it's $2, and then he'll say it's about to hit $2, and then he says it is $2. And the issue is that it's never been $2 during any of that time. And that was very comically almost parodied on Fox News less than a week ago, when they showed that on average gas over the last year has fallen from, I believe, $3.07 on average a gallon to $3.06 on average a gallon, which is a reduction. I guess groceries are down, but not by a ton. And a lot of this is just, it's verifiable that he is not being straight with the American people. And so that's all well and good, but I want to know specifically how much we're paying for this sort of stuff. And so there was this investigation into the cost of product increases over time. And they broke it down by state, which is really fascinating because we know that we're all paying more, but we're not all paying the same amount more. And so let's jump to this. By the way, they're using the same methodology that the Republicans had used under President Joe Biden to track cost increases. And they found that the average US family is spending roughly $700 more per month on basic items since Trump took office in January, pledging to bring prices way down on day one. But again, there's big differences in how much you're paying based on what state that you're in. And so here are the top 5 and the bottom 5 states. And oh no, California's number 1. That's not great. We're paying over $1,100 more. That's per month, by the way, everyone. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Even Utah, though, over 1,000. And then you see places like West Virginia, Texas doing okay. That's good for them. And Arkansas, 259. So look, that's not nearly as much. It's a quarter as much, less than a quarter as much as the highest states. But still, a $250 additional monthly charge, that's like a car lease in some of these places. That's a lot of money. And so I don't know, like you can keep telling people that they're not paying more, but they know and they can see the cumulative effect of this month after month after month after month. It's a lot of money. It really affects people's ability to, to just pay for regular goods, but also maybe save a little bit of money, that sort of thing. Brett, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it is not cheaper to live in America right now. Like it sucks. It sucks to go to the grocery store and see how much more expensive it is. And Trump's right when he says stuff like the like denominator, so to speak, like the lifeblood, the key indicator of how expensive stuff's going to be is gas prices. But electrical prices are going up. Yeah. Like people, in order to power their house, the prices are going up, and that's due to like a completely other insane pressure put on the economy by people that have the ear of the president with all the AI development that's going on and all the extra support that those initiatives need. And America has kind of said that that is our future main industry. But the other thing that is happening that Trump is not talking about is there have been tons of periods where we're told that the economic situation is very bleak and there is a lot of heightened costs in the supply chain. But still during that time, these corporations are making record profits. And I don't think that that's too complicated an idea to focus in on even if you're Donald Trump, especially if you're Donald Trump, who's really good at kind of reducing things to stuff that anyone could kind of understand intuitively. And so I really do think that when it comes down to it, like, we need to focus on making costs lower by telling folks they are squeezing you. You are paying too much, not because it's too expensive to make stuff, but because the companies and their venture capital backers are taking money from you. They're not lowering the prices when they could. Because it used to be people would not pay more when they couldn't afford stuff. All that happens now is we get more credit card debt when we can't afford stuff, because that stuff we can't afford is stuff that we need to survive.
Yeah. I agree. In some cases, he can simplify things, I think sometimes in a very dishonest fashion. I mean, there's some things that even he can't explain, like magnets. Nobody understands how those work, but
no one gets it. Water.
He explains some things though. Yeah, we're being squeezed, and he even acknowledges that now. And they're going to be looking into some price fixing on some food products. So good, get people used to that. And then we can go a lot broader in the future of looking into how that works. Just want to remind everyone that, again, when he does things like these tariffs, he is producing an environment that allows these importers, these companies, to raise prices if they want to. They will have to, but also if they want to, because now everyone's like, well, I guess everything's going up. He did that for them. It wasn't necessary. And Brett, your wife says, to be fair, magnets are some pretty spooky things. They are basically the thing in the natural world that is most like magic. I will grant Donald Trump that. Anyway, with that said, so we talked about rising prices. We talked about how Donald Trump might be scaling back the tariffs a little bit. Let's talk about what I would argue is a completely fake thing he wants people to think he's gonna do to get some cheap approval points in the short term. Let's jump into this.
The president's talking about a $2,000 rebate, and that would be for families making less than, say, $100,000.
Have you decided on that yet?
We haven't. It's in discussion.
There are a lot of people in the Trump administration and the tech world that don't really seem like actual humans, but he feels less like an actual human every time I hear him talk. That was, of course, Scott Bessent, and he's talking about the $2,000 checks that Trump tweeted out. Because he tweeted it, they have to act as if it's a thing that he's actually going to do. And there's like 10 different reasons why it's unlikely he would actually do it. I also want to be clear, if he does it, it's bad in a variety of different ways. It's not good to screw people over, tax them through your tariffs, and then pay back like 3 months on average of the extra cost, and then go back to screwing them over and over and over again, because that's not a sustainable solution to the problem. 2, they would freak the hell out if the Democrats had done that. This is now becoming just a typical thing that Donald Trump does. He screws everything up, he sets fire to everything, and then he decides, well, I'm gonna put my name on a check to get people to think that I'm actually not that bad. It's incredibly manipulative, and so I hate it for that reason. But also, it's not gonna happen, man. It would be wildly expensive to do this. He said right there, they're not gonna give it to people that make over $100,000. Okay, I guess you have to have the cutoff at some point. It would seem like, state by state, you should probably have the cutoff at different places. Some places are more expensive than others. But again, I'm putting more thought into it than they have at this point. But if you did do that, of sending $2,000 to every person that makes less than $100,000 a year, that would cost about $300 billion. They have supposedly brought in $195 billion so far. So this would actually cost about 50% more than all of the money they've even made. And again, like, how is that helping the problem? That's just a wild solution to the problem, and it's not legal. You can't do that. Just because you tax people through these tariffs, it doesn't mean that it's like in your bank account, Trump. He can't freely spend that on anything he wants. I just want to remind everyone, and it's hard to remember this because Congress is so deferential to Donald Trump. They're supposed to be in charge of this. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to want to have these powers, but it's not actually Trump's money to spend however he wants. Brett, what do you think?
This is one of those things that sounds awesome if you know nothing, and sounds stupid if you know like anything, and gets dumber the more you think about it. Like, $2,000 sounds great. That's why he's doing it. If you know anything about where the money he's saying he's paying you with comes from, you realize he's saying he doesn't have enough of this money to give you, by the way. He says, I hate deficits, but he does not have enough money that he generated that he's saying he's paying you out from. He said all that money coming in was gonna go to the deficit and offsetting the deficit. Now he realizes people hate tariffs, so he's not gonna address that. And now he's gonna promise more than the money he made to pay people back. But where did this money come from? Those same people. And it's and like, we have a way to make this fair. It's to raise taxes on rich people and give it to the poor people. That's a redistribution of wealth that Trump has said he is going to do, by the way. He said in this plan, he's gonna redistribute wealth from people who pay tariffs to poor people who pay tariffs. But here's the thing, anytime you talk about something like tariffs, those are point of sale impuestos, they're taxes basically, right? And those are happening at the point of sale. And anything like that is a regressive tax on consumers. Poor people spend a lot of money. There's a lot of people to buy a lot of stuff, right? The taxes, rich people pay way more in taxes than poor people. But when it comes to sales taxes, it's actually harder on poor people than it is on rich people. So he's making life unnecessarily hard on poor people. And then he's gonna go into debt, not apologizing for it, but hoping that when he gives you $2,000 or just promise you $2,000, that you're gonna forget all about this. Even though you probably paid the amount we just showed you in the last segment, the average Californian is paying $1,000 extra a month.
Yeah.
So he's giving you 1/6 of the amount over the course of a year that you are already spending. So he's not refunding you the whole thing of this fictional cost he just pushed on you.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
And this is running the government like a business. I'm glad that we have smart people in charge.
And that's the thing, he is running the government like a business, but not a good business.
No.
His businesses, which he runs into the ground and then tries to get a bailout for, and he only gets rich off of marketing and celebrity.
Exactly. And that's what he's doing. And again, this is all a hypothetical. It's not actually going to happen. Let's be clear about that. Also, it would be illegal to do it. Also, a one-time check sent to people, they would of course have to dump that money. It would be, I would argue, probably quite inflationary.
And that's exactly what they accused Biden of when he gave people money during the COVID era.
Yeah, there was a better cause for it. That also you'd be taxed on it. You wouldn't even get the $2,000. There's like 1,000 reasons that this is all BS. This is just he puts it out there so that I'm gonna say 25 million people right now think that we already got the checks. There are probably a lot of Americans that think he did this. Hey, that's nice that he did that. He never has to actually do it, and he's not going to. Also, and our producer points this out. Didn't they say they were gonna do this with Doggy? You know, we're gonna save all his waste, fraud, abuse, and then we're gonna give you a check. You know, your cut of it. That never happened. We never got anything. They're massive liars, and they don't actually care about you. Okay, we're gonna take our first break. We got a lot more to get to after this. And then, like, you ask him, you know, how are you gonna pay for this, and he'll be like, "Nah, I always find the money." That's not how it's supposed to work at all. Jesus
like when he was like, I have money for a $300 million ballroom that I'm gonna not have the government pay for. Oh, by the way, I am owed $300 million by the government randomly for lawsuits. So I guess I'll pay myself that from the government. Then I'll have it. Then that is money laundering of taxpayer cash.
Also, has there been any evidence? Would there ever be any evidence of who paid the people who destroyed the East Wing? Like, we're just supposed to believe that Mark Zuckerberg gave him a bunch of cash. They set up an account for it. Again, is there any evidence of any of that? The transfer, where it's being held, how much money is in the account, the expenditures. If he was literally just using our money to pay for it, would we have any idea? Is anybody even asking that question? Again, I feel like I ask crazy questions sometimes, but I feel like it's also, when you think about it, pretty base level stuff. Okay, we'll see. Maybe Jake Tapper will get to it at some point. Okay, Igor says in the super chats, if you want good golf tips, watch Jimmy Tropicana. I've actually watched some of his videos, but the issue is that I am so new to it, I can't even use most advice. Like, it's not useful to me at this point. I'm at such a basic level, but I do enjoy his videos. He's got a very calm presence. My dogs love to laugh says, John literally just started golfing yesterday. I know, no, I can rapidly make something that I have just started a very integral part of my emotional stability system. But no, I didn't just start yesterday. I played 6 rounds now. That's something.
That's great.
Brett, you've probably
Jordan's gotten so much better since we started playing. Like, he's good now.
You know, he's very good. Yeah, he'll bomb a drive.
So if he's very good, what am I, John?
Amazing, the best to ever do it. We're actually gonna have a discussion about for me. Like, usually I like to have one other person who's like kind of a beginner. This is
no one's as kind of a beginner than you.
I'm at least like, if it's like me and like Adi something, it's at least competitive. She's still better than me, but at least it's like, it looks, if you squint, kind of similar.
She's more consistent than you. She was
definitely.
Well last time.
No, her drives are very good. Miss Chivos Dragon says Fetterman had a heart malfunction this week, lightheaded, face planted, and hospitalized. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. It seems pretty serious. It's not up to me or his constituents to be clear.
Who is this?
I feel like John Fetterman. I feel like he should probably like go spend some time dealing with his massive recurring health problems. Again, it's not up to me. I'm not trying to be a D or anything. I just feel like this seems pretty serious at this point. I said the same thing of Mitch McConnell. Anyway, 46 seconds. Okay, Neil says in a super chat, have heard any podcasts from Players Unlimited. According to them, with receipts, DJT will be imprisoned ASAP. 1621 is finally getting strength. Neil, I'm not familiar with that podcast, and I cannot rule out almost anything, but I don't think there's any magic solutions. There's no Deus Ex Machina to the problems that we're in. I don't think that the results of the election are gonna be overturned. I don't think that Donald Trump is all of a sudden gonna be hauled away. He controls all the people who would do the hauling at this point. And I'm not saying he hasn't broken the law. He definitely has. I think the way we get to a better place is difficult. It is toil. I don't think anyone's riding in to save us.
I am John.
Okay, let's now dive into some of the difficult toil that will be required day after day to actually solve the political problem we're in. And unfortunately, I don't want it to be in the area of gerrymandering, but it is right now. So let's dive into some of the more recent back and forth on that.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states?
Yeah, well, that's okay too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and
So
that'll be 5.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that?
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon. And I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen.
So it is probably pointless to point out the wild hypocrisy from this, that Donald Trump tells these Republican states, I want you to gerrymander so that we get more seats. Screw the people, we don't even care what they think. We're just gonna come up with maps that give us seats. We want it, we're gonna take it. We don't ever wanna lose power. And we don't wanna have to actually convince people to support us. We just wanna be able to win automatically. Oh wait, the Democrats are doing that? Well, we're definitely going to sue them into the ground because never forget the DOJ is just the Donald Trump law office. That's all it is right now. But that's what they're doing. And by the way, the right doesn't care about that hypocrisy at all. They want more of this hypocrisy. They want Donald Trump to do things, and then they want Democrats to be locked up for doing the exact same thing. Or in this case, not even the exact same thing, because as we'll point out, the Democrats actually went about doing it in a far more democratic and I would say ethical fashion. But as we've alluded to in our lower third here, the DOJ is suing California for doing a gerrymander that is expected that it will produce as many seats for the Democrats as the Texas gerrymander did for the Republicans. And so they've accused California, this is the fun part of the story, of racial gerrymandering in violation of the Constitution. See, the Trump administration, they just want to look out for voters of all races, and they think that those damn Democrats are being too racist in the way they're targeting these voters, which Trump would never ever do, of course. And so they're asking a judge to prohibit California from using the new map in any future elections, saying race cannot be used as a proxy to advance political interests. But that is precisely what the California General Assembly, which isn't a thing, it doesn't exist, as we'll get to, did with Prop 50, the recent ballot initiative that junked California's pre-existing electoral map in favor of a rush job rejiggering of California's congressional district lines. And they're really running with this. They think that they've got something here. Here's Pam Bondi.
They are flat out publicizing what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. They're trying to create seats based on race, and they can't do it. And we're going to hold them accountable just like any other state. I mean, they've very publicly said, Sean, what they're trying to do, and it's illegal gerrymandering. They cannot do it. So yeah, we sued them today. We're going to continue suing California until they start complying with the laws of our country.
So to be very clear, California has been open and upfront about what they're doing. And John of a year ago would say, I don't like it. They are trying to create new seats, just not based on race. They're trying to do it based on politics. What they're trying to do is the exact same thing that Texas did and other states, as we'll get to. Is it underhanded? Yeah, I think so. I don't think any state should be able to do this. But if Texas is doing it, and they already did, then yes, California gets to do that. And so Governor Newsom responded to this saying, these losers lost at the ballot box, and soon they will also lose in court. When Trump's handpicked hacks at DOJ can't tell California from North Carolina, the lawsuit is about as credible as Trump's I don't know Epstein lie. Basically referencing that their lawsuit against California references the General Assembly, which is not a thing that California actually has. They don't, again, but Pam Bondi doesn't actually care about this. It's not a real thing. It's just a thing that Donald Trump has to do. I just want to remind everyone that while, if you squint your eyes, what California and Texas did was similar in that they redid their maps for partisan gain. They did not do it in the same way. Texas just did it. And hey, Pam Bondi, since you love people saying what they're trying to do, we showed that clip. Donald Trump just said, I told them to change their map so we get more seats. I can't wait for that to be played in the court. Texas just did it. The voters had no say whatsoever. That's not what happened in California. In California, they put it up for a vote, and as you can see, it won overwhelmingly, 64-36 basically. And so people were able to weigh in, and they did. I still, Prior John doesn't like it, doesn't think this is how it should go, but they did actually allow the people to weigh in. So this is a ridiculous and obviously hypocritical lawsuit. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere, but you know how the SCOTUS is, Brett. What do you think?
It's actually more directly hypocritical and amazing than you make it sound, John. And I know no one has a year-long memory, but in 2024, this thing that Pam Bondi and Donald Trump saying is, I'm shocked to find out that California, and we think it's illegal and unconstitutional that California would racially gerrymander a state. In May of 2024, this Supreme Court threw out a challenge to a map that even the South Carolina map maker admitted showed racial disparity. They allowed that map. This Supreme Court allowed, per Human Rights Watch, they allowed for racial gerrymandering of South Carolina. So what are they mad at? You're saying it's based on racial lines. So was the allegation in South Carolina. The map maker was like, You're saying they're saying it? Well, the map maker in South Carolina said, What are you mad at? Oh, you're mad because you're losing. And here's the thing. What you said at the very beginning of this segment, John, you were like he doesn't care. He just wants his side to win and the other side to lose. It doesn't matter, basically implying he has no value system other than me win, you lose. And that is, I would say, one of the most human instincts on the planet. But the thing about America is we designed a system to severely hamper that instinct based on what? Justice, which is fairness. And so we should have all these systems in place that stop you from just saying, hey buddy, get me some more seats. Because the alternative to get more seats is to be better at your job. And Trump clearly doesn't want to win the way that democracy says you should try to win. Instead, he just wants to change the rules. And that, I would say, is an admission that you're a loser.
Exactly. Yeah, no, as Gavin Newsom points out. And again, look, I hope that after all of this, we get to a system where individual states, biased lawmakers and not the ones that are doing this. It should be an independent thing. It should produce outcomes that are similar to the distribution of support for the different parties on a state level. Like all this is very obvious. It's just everybody thinks, no, wait, I think this current system can benefit us. If we do X, then we'll get Y. It's not how it should work. And hopefully, I think the only way that we get to a position where the Republicans would be willing to change it is if the system is contorted enough that they start losing under it. Anyway, with that said, let's turn to how we might actually get to that. Oh, sorry, no, yeah, thank you. While Donald Trump is encouraging Republicans to gerrymander their congressional delegations to help him out in the midterms, some MAGA people are like looking at all of this, and especially the last elections, and realizing that this might not be working out the way it was supposed to. Those elections were rough. The math that some of these states have used to create new maps are looking a little bit dicey, and there's a lot of other issues they're coming up against as in various states they try to do for Donald Trump what he's asked of them. So some Republican-led states are finding that even if they want to do it, and not all of them do anymore, it's easier said than done. So Ohio drew a new map that Democrats believe could actually favor them. After seeing the recent election results, Kansas decided not to follow through on their redistricting plan. They had been on path to do it and then decided not to. Missouri faces a statewide referendum on a map giving one new seat to Republicans. That might end up going through, we'll see. Despite massive pressure from the White House, including personal visits from Vice President JD Vance, Indiana Republicans are currently resisting pressure to draw new districts. In Utah on Monday this week, A judge rejected the state's all GOP map, stating that it unduly favors Republicans and disfavors Democrats, and ruling that the state constitution requires an alternate proposal that creates a Democratic leading district, which appears now that will actually end up benefiting the Democrats in this case. North Carolina's gerrymander has been one of the few that's gone through relatively smoothly, and the Republicans think they'll get one additional seat out of that. But the Democrats are doing it as well. And in the end, it doesn't actually seem necessarily that this is going to end up helping the Republicans. And so in a cycle that's already going to be very hard for them, they may actually be at a structural disadvantage going into it. Brett, what do you think?
Yeah, no, this is this is the Korean War all over again. Those of you want a visual representation of the Korean War, there was a front in the middle of the peninsula, and then it was invaded, and the front moved down, but then the Americans showed up and moved the front way past where it originally was, and the Chinese were like, please stop, and then it went right back to where it was before, and hundreds of like tens of thousands of people died. This is that. This is like, oh, let's declare a bloody gerrymandering of America, at the end of which time, not much will have changed because one side's gonna gerrymander more and the other side's gonna gerrymander more. All that happened is now we have a bunch of even further gerrymandered districts, and what we have less of is actual representation of the people based on a map that makes sense, even by the weird way that Republicans are like, we're actually a representative republic, not a democracy. It's like, bro, we're barely even that with these maps.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just in the crossfire, you have like California Republicans that are like, hey, why do I have to lose my seat just because Greg Abbott's a D? And let alone the voters. California Republicans deserve to have some representation, and thanks to Donald Trump, they're not gonna get it. Again, it's not even equal. We had an actual vote. There were ads going back and forth. People were debating and everything. Texas didn't even do that. They didn't even care enough about their constituents to give them that chance. And in the end, as we've been alluding to, some of the recent data indicates that this new map may not actually be as positive for Texas Republicans as they think it is, which would just be one of the best possible outcomes in these midterms. We know that they're sort of running scared now. God, I hope that the numbers drop out for them, that their expectation of the momentum that Republicans have among Texas Latino voters goes in the exact opposite direction. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. Okay, I think that we should probably take our second break of the show. When we come back, we got to talk about Eric Trump kind of demonstrating how disconnected not just Donald Trump is, but all of the Trumps are from the struggles of everyday people.
I don't know everyday people.
Okay. Let's see. Gargoyle Dragon says in a super chat, if we do get these 2K checks, I'll take mine in the form of a video of Scott Bessent being strapped down and made to watch Trump make those checks. He's a very interesting fellow.
He looks like a guy from the show The Chair Company, where everybody is just like seems like a normal person, but something's very weird about them.
Have you enjoyed that show so far?
I'm watching it slower than it comes out, I'll tell you that, because it's a lot.
Yeah, I do want to watch. I really like him. I'm curious.
It's very weird. I also am watching I Love LA, which is delightful.
I don't know that one.
I just watch Hunting Wives because I like that's a
I didn't watch it. My wife did.
It's a saucy show.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Fallout Season 2 to come out. That's what I'm
God
for right now.
It's been a good day for a couple days for trailers because of that and Devil Wears Prada 2. Good morning.
I didn't see that trailer. Anyway,
it's like this, but a hand comes in to keep the door open, with the two sides of the door.
I'll watch it after the show. Native Dragon says, my best hole-in-one was at Jungle Trails Adventure Golf. I nailed it on the 8th hole gator with fast closing mouth. Golf is brutal.
That's so funny.
That does sound fun. Do you enjoy mini golf more as a golfer? Practice your putting. Do you bring your real putter?
No, I don't. One time I saw Gary Oldman at mini golf. Just a name drop, not to brag. But my best hole-in-one at mini golf was I missed my putt, but then Nick behind me, putt not from here, but Nick putted and knocked my ball in, but it was like 4 feet. He knocked mine in.
Still counts. Still counts. Anyway, CD and Northstalk Dad gifted a membership, which is super nice of you. Thank you for doing that.
You weren't as impressed as you should have been about how close I was the other day. I was within 2 feet from 130 yards.
I was impressed. I said this
percentage.
That's impressed.
You should
have. I was implying that you were within like 0.01% of the. I should
need
still
more.
Be clapping.
There it is.
It was very impressive. I mean, it wasn't a hole in one, but it was very impressive.
It's true. And there's so much.
What if I get a hole in one first, Brett? Oh,
you probably will. Just so you know, you probably. I'm not even kidding. You probably will.
I think you will get a hole in one before I get on the green in one. I think because it has not happened yet. Anyway, I really want to take a lesson. I really wanted during my PTO to find one. I wasn't able to do it. I just want a real lesson, just one. I want to learn. Anyway. Yoda Suave, member for 57 months, says, yesterday I clipped out John saying, I'm trying to get her away from YouTube to watch real content. I took it out of context and I'm setting it to jank. No, I don't mean that there's, first of all, I watch tons of YouTube every day. I'm just saying content for kids, of which there is some good stuff on YouTube. I like Miss Rachel, I like Miss Monty, Miss Julie. There's a variety of good content on there.
What about Moose Toilet?
Some of it. What's that?
I'm starting a children's show called Moose Toilet.
Also Moose Toilet. Those are classics, clearly. They should be rebooted. But I wanted, like, I would so prefer like to watch some Disney movies to mix it up, whatever. I've been trying to get her to watch a little bit of Harry Potter. She watches a minute or two of The Hobbit at a time. So we're making some progress. Anyway, thank you for your message though, Yoda. I do appreciate it. Gargoyle Dragon member for 13 months says, happy Friday on my subiversary, John and Brett. Hope your golfing goes well. I'm just happy my new kittens are liking their new home. How nice. Brett's home also is a home of kittens. I thought at first when you said you had to tend to the kids in the morning, that was what you were talking about, I thought. But anyway, okay, more news to come. We're talking about some creeps and some other stuff, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a sec.
Rawr.
Before we jump back into the news to close out this hour, I want to let you know about a new partnership that TYT is doing with Noble Mobile, the only wireless plan that pays you to use your phone less. If you sign up for their Noble plan, you can get unlimited data for just $50 a month, but then any data that you don't use, you actually get cash back that you can use for whatever you want. It goes into your pocket rather than the pockets of billionaires or shareholders. So if you switch to Noble, you can not only take control of your data and its use, but you can save money at the same time. And those who've switched say on average, they save about $500 to $1,000 a year on their phone bill. Switch to Noble today by visiting go.tyt.com/switch. Or of course, you can use the handy dandy QR code on the graphic on screen right now. Doing so supports TYT and our mission of delivering true independent media. Again, that's go.tyt.com/switch. And with that said, why don't we talk about the Trumps being creeps? Americans are suffering financially, unable to afford groceries, gasoline, electricity. And then Eric Trump decides to go on TV to just remind everyone of how little his family has to do with the experiences of regular Americans. Take a look.
There's no reason at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, I shouldn't be able to send out a swift wire transfer. Right now you can't. I try and make a transfer every single week, and you're trying to push before the 5 o'clock deadline to either receive money or to get it out. How is that modern day finance? You can send $500 million worth of Bitcoin on a Sunday night at 11 p.m. while having a glass of wine with your wife for virtually zero fees. How is the system this lethargic? Why does it take you 120 days to get go through Know Your Customer with your bank if you want to get a home mortgage? It doesn't make any sense. Cryptocurrency is going to fix every single one of these issues, and Bitcoin is digital gold. Bitcoin is going to be one of the greatest stores of value we've ever seen, ever.
That's not good. As my producer says, hashtag relatable. Yeah, we're all struggling, You may not be able to afford rent or whatever. Your health insurance price is about to skyrocket. He's trying to send $500 million while having a glass of wine with his wife, and then he's looking at the fees and he's just like, it's not even worth it to transfer most of my net worth at one point. So this is just, what are you doing, man? This is Fox. You're supposed to be pretending to be populist. You're supposed to be pretending to be the everyman, and this is your problem? that, oh God, I'm just killed by the fees every time I send hundreds of millions of dollars. This is so utterly disconnected. And I know that most of the people watching this, we don't have any standards for the Trump, so it maybe even seems weird to focus on this. But just imagine if this had happened a year and a half ago and inflation is going up. People are like, why isn't Joe Biden doing more about the economy? And then Hunter goes on MSNBC to talk about oh, sometimes I'm just walking around with a briefcase full of gold or whatever. And then it gets really heavy. It's inconvenient. Why can't there be a better way? You're supposed to be better messengers than this. Or at least if you can't be a better messenger, you don't actually need to be on the news, Eric Trump. It's not actually your strong suit. Brett, what do you think?
The other day when I was done using my disposable gold-plated bed sheets, I decided that I needed to buy new ones, and I couldn't because Bed Bath & Beyond was closed. And by Beyond, I mean Beyond Bed Bath & Beyond. This is Bed Bath & Bouillon. We would go, and you know how when you have a tiger and an actual menagerie and you want to buy another one, but they don't exist, so you have to go commission someone to DNA splice and clone, these normal everyday problems that we have. Yeah, it's tough that I can't do them at night. That's his
What
thing.
is going on in his life?
Do you know?
At 11 o'clock at night.
This is mo money, mo problems. Dude, you don't have, that's not a problem. Though his problem, Paul Krugman said something that was fascinating. I hadn't really thought about it. You just kind of think it, but no one really articulates it. Is no one's using Bitcoin to buy stuff. They are buying it like Labubus, thinking that it will itself be the value that appreciates, so that they can just sell that for dollars and buy stuff with dollars. The only people, according to him, that are actually buying stuff with cryptocurrency are criminals doing crime stuff because it's harder to trace the crime stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And this dude only has this much money to transfer or not transfer for two reasons. One, he was born so rich with the last name Trump. And two, he was able to get more cryptocurrency by completely fleecing people that look to him to support the economic prosperity of the struggling everyman.
Yeah. That's the only way that value actually, the only place that it comes from is it's a massive transfer of people who are afraid that they're gonna miss out or whatever. So they get in there, and then the people who already had it structurally, they had the coin before anyone could buy it. It's artificially propped up. Also, it is one thing to have the problem that he described and to talk about it openly, not getting how that makes you look compared to the regular person. I just want to be very clear. He doesn't even have that problem. Their family has a few $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
A few $1 billion. They're not routinely transferring $500 million. He's cosplaying elitism that he doesn't even have.
Well, he's doing it so he can get richer. What he's doing.
He wants to encourage people to use their platform. That's what the interview is about. It's not actually talking about their problem. It's trying to get people to abandon other investments and to instead go to their corrupt Bitcoin thing.
When I turn on cable, that stuff, I only expect to see during infomercials, by the way.
Yeah.
That is an infomercial. That is that's we got that B-roll look of that video where the people are I can't wear headsets because headsets are always this way on my head. And no one really has trouble wearing headsets.
That's what it
But
is.
they invented that problem so that you could buy the sideways headset that has a thing here so it doesn't twist. That's what he's doing. But he's leveraging Fox News to do an infomercial for his crap.
And they both want to do it and also have to do it. It would be like if Hunter Biden went on there and was you can't trust traditional investments, so buy more of my paintings. That's exactly what it is.
It is.
So we got to move on to the last story.
It's prosperity preachers. I definitely can't get rich through Bitcoin and all this stuff, but and my life isn't getting any better. But my avatar for this is the Trump family, and I will help them get rich, and I'm on their side. That's my favorite sports team, essentially, and so I feel like a winner when they win the championship and get paid.
Exactly. Okay, let's go from little baby boy creep to Papa creep. Donald Trump is having a pretty bad week on the Epstein files. So his party is set to vote just next week on releasing more of them. It's expected that there's actually going to be more Republican support for that vote than we'd previously sought, partially because these emails that have been coming out have been really bad. I mean, you don't even have to look into the whole Bill Clinton, Donald Trump oral thing to think that these are bad for him. And the pressure is ramping up. Even his own voters now are begging him to at least pretend to take it seriously. And he kind of is, I guess, in that he is launching an investigation, but just as always of his political opponents, saying the Democrats are doing everything in their withering power, which I feel like that's giving the Democrats a bit more credit than they deserve. I don't think that their power is withering, but they're pushing the Epstein hoax again. So he continues to tell his base, who cares about this? It's just a hoax, don't worry about it. He says, blah, 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 it's a distraction. Some weak Republicans have fallen into their clutches because they are soft and foolish. So, he tried to put pressure on Nancy Mace, he tried to put pressure on Lauren Boebert. All of them are soft and foolish, to be clear. Anybody who votes for this, and there will be many, are soft and foolish. And if you're a regular Republican out there and you care about this, Donald Trump thinks you're weak and soft and foolish. But then he says, it's not my problem, Epstein, even though it was his best friend for decades. It's Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers. They're the one with a problem. Don't waste your time with Trump. I have a capital C country to run. And so he has to be seen to be doing something. So he is actually getting the DOJ, which is supposed to be an independent branch or part of the executive branch. He's now dispatching them to investigate Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan Chase or whatever, I guess. He's literally dispatching Pam Bondi, his chief personal lawyer, to do this. And I get why he thinks this is a good idea, but I don't know. We've been saying the whole time there's more to this than you thought. And he seems to be admitting that maybe there is. Now, he's not admitting his own culpability. He still hasn't addressed the fact that he was apparently home in Epstein's home for hours with one of the victims doing God knows what. He's not responding to that. But he is saying Bill Clinton, who in the emails it says was never on Epstein's island and everything. It literally is in the emails he's referencing there. They're the ones that we should be worried about. But that doesn't really solve the problem. That still keeps it in the news, and it should be in the news. And he's still not reassuring his base that he gets the concerns at all, Brett. What do you think?
Bro, share your screen, Trump. If you're gonna do an investigation, share your screen. I wanna see it. Like, this is the thing. He ran on it and he's hiding it. He ran on unhiding it and now he's hiding it. And the problem is that looks sketchy as hell. Like, you promised, and there's a lot of dudes, and specifically the manosphere and everybody, that think like, yo, anyone in the Epstein files is a crook. And unfortunately, the only way for me to figure out what's happening and make it make sense is that Trump is one of those guys, and he's a crook. And of course he is. I've seen him in like 600 million photos with Jeffrey Epstein yucking it up. It just looks so bad for him.
Yeah,
that's why I wanted the government shut down as long as it was, is because he's like, at the very least, I won't have Epstein stuff to talk about. Yeah. But now it's back. This is all out in the open, and hopefully more of it comes out. And just dump the whole thing on us. We can handle it. I mean, exactly. And I'm sure you heard dump the whole thing on us plenty when you were on Epstein's island.
Ugh, I don't like that at all to close the hour with. But
why
anyway,
specifically, what about it? How did you feel when I said it?
We can't show these, but he's getting a lot of replies on True Social from his followers telling him that it's not a hoax. I mean, even them, they're like, no, we know that you didn't do anything, but something's going on. And I like that they're trying to be intellectually consistent, even though like, you don't think that Donald Trump did anything. You think that this 6-month-long freak out is not an indication that he's not as innocent as he would purport to be. Like, you're trying, I'll give you some points for that, but Jesus.
But his brand is that he's a pervert.
100%. He's been openly on tape a pervert. They like that he's a pervert, but also he's totally not a pervert. Not if it's kids. Sorry, not kids. Megyn Kelly has some distinctions that we should make.
My favorite thing of the week.
It's amazing. Anyway, and we don't have time to read the graphics, but Marjorie Greene is once again saying that she stands with the victims. Again, her disconnect from Donald Trump has been ramping up this week. I've loved to see it. And she's gonna vote to release the files next week. Fascinating stuff. Stay tuned next week to find out what happens with that. But we do have to end this first hour. There's more to come in the aftermath, including our garbage people of the week. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Aftermath, one and all. Glad to have you here. Reminder that we will be doing members content later on for our YouTube members. We're going to be talking about the LPGA debut of Donald Trump's granddaughter, Kai Trump. Should be a lot of fun. Before we jump into the news, I want to acknowledge Pilly Lamb, member for 39 months, who says the muffled snickers when Orange mentions big beautiful Bill now. Yeah, it's working out so big and so beautiful for everybody. Frank and Dragon, member for 40 months, says watching since March 2020, member for 40 months, love Dragon Daddy and the Dragon Squad. Also Brett. Man, March 2020, that was the beginning of a whole new thing, huh? Leo, member for 57 months, says things in the natural world that are most like magic are magnets, John, not radioactivity or anything involving quantum mechanics or string theory. There are 12 dimensions, John. Well, okay, maybe radioactivity, but a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is very abstract. It's invisible. Like the thing that makes it magical to me is that you can see it happening and you can't naturally explain it.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong about which part of that?
About what is the most magic, and it is
what is the most magic?
Chameleons and octopi changing color.
Yeah, that's pretty magical too.
Like voluntarily.
Magnets are more magical than chameleons. Because the chameleon, I've seen my own skin change color in the sun or whatever. Like that's within the realm of possibility. A magnet invisibly affects things that aren't touching it. That's more magical.
Yeah, but like this helps understand it, right?
What?
The right hand rule, or like this kind of stuff can essential it, right? Essentialize
beyond my knowledge. I meant Charlie Kelly.
A magnetic field goes this way, or electricity goes this way, the magnetic field goes that way. All these things, all these things are essentially like there's a force happening, and we understand that force. We don't know specifically how, like what it feels like, how to do it. Well, I can take a piece of metal and rub it a bunch, and now it's magnetized.
Sure. Can I tell you what I thought you were gonna say when you said, it's the most magical thing in nature? I thought you were gonna make a joke about like your drive or something. Like I really thought that's where we were going
magical,
together.
John.
Oh my God!
The fact that my irons have illegal grooves that bring the ball back. Well, backspin.
Okay. I think it's time to do some chores, okay? As much as this has already been a chore for me, let's do some other chores. It's the end of the week, so it's time to take out the trash. Brett, who is your magical garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week is Nancy Mace. This is one of Trump's, perennial stooges, who has gotten herself into a pretty difficult situation, and the way she tried to get out of it made it even more embarrassing and backfired immediately. The Daily Beast sums it up here when they have a headline that says Nancy Mace rages at a tweet she didn't realize was satire. This is always funny. She saw a post from this group, this Twitter handle called The Halfway Post, which should be a tip-off. Breaking, White House lawyers are reportedly worried Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace recorded their phone calls with Trump where he begged, bribed, threatened, and cried for them to reverse their votes on releasing the Epstein files. To which she said, "This might be the most MR post I've seen." President Trump didn't beg, didn't bribe, didn't threaten, and certainly didn't cry. I hope he sues the S out of you. You people don't give a damn about the Epstein victims. You're just using them to attack Trump. Rot in hell, all of you. However, if you look at any other posts from this group, you realize they're absolutely fake. Such as here, if you look at their handle is like The Halfway Post, Dadaist graffiti news, halfway true comedy and satire. She didn't even click through to see if The Halfway Post was real. I don't report facts, I improve them. Comedy is cathartic in fascist eras like ours. Obviously fake. And if you looked at any other tweets, you'd see things like breaking. Donald Trump is reportedly thinking about doing the Weinstein move where he starts using a wheelchair to gain sympathy despite his sex crimes. If you think that's true, that's because of how ridiculous Trump is, not because these guys are spreading lies. And then later, a few minutes later, obviously, it seems like she figured it out. She's like, the amount of lies on X today has been insane. And when I say she got herself into a pretty pricky, a difficult a difficult situation, The Hill sums it up. Trump allies reach out to Boebert Mace ahead of Epstein discharge petition deadline because she is one of the people that says she will vote yes, along with Democrats, on releasing the Epstein files because she got herself into a difficult situation where she is on the wrong side of Trump, but the right side of people who are like, oh, I just want to see the Epstein files. Those sound like a fun read. And Kash Patel reportedly called Boebert, and Trump reportedly called Mace, and they were playing phone tag. But like, the truth of this scenario is she is a garbage person for like seizing on any tweet she can to be like, people are blowing this out of proportion that I've like broken with Trump essentially. But at the end of the day, like, this is all you're doing. And honestly, we look to you to be like the reputable person who looks, who's a congressperson and knows fact from fiction. Obviously, that doesn't really matter to her. Or she's just so shook by how obviously uncomfortable she's made herself through all of this. But really, she needs to blame Trump.
Yeah. She's had a very interesting social media week. Did you see the thing about her in the airport?
I did see something about that. What happened?
It's a lot. So she was like supposed to go and she wanted security or something and they were waiting for her and she showed up late or something and then not at the right place. And then she freaked out on them. And then that began this massive meltdown that led to her claiming that she was going to end the career of some state Republicans there. And she apparently posted about that airport incident on Twitter over 100 times, which I feel like, I get that this is me being the censorious left or whatever. If you post over 100 times about something on Twitter inside of a week, you should be forcibly committed. I think there should be like a psychiatric evaluation. And I honestly think that's a generous cap, 100. I think 50, maybe 25 would be fine. But no, she's out of her mind. How is she still in elected office? Nobody likes her.
She's hot.
What? I don't think that would be a good explanation.
I think a lot of people, she's on TV. She's one of Trump's favorites because she's hot.
I don't think he cares about her. I don't think he cares at all, especially if she goes through and ends up voting for the thing. I think that could be the end for her, but that would be great for America and for her constituents. There's got to be some other terrible Republican that can take her spot. But anyway, good garbage person, Brett. I appreciate it. I've got one that I feel like could be like one of your garbage people. We'll see if you like it. My garbage person of the week, at the last second, I almost wanted to switch it to Mr. Beast because he just opened up a theme park in Saudi Arabia or something. And I feel like that's not a sentence that should exist. And why does he continue to do the things that he does? I don't like them, but no, it's too late. I don't have the graphics made. So I'm gonna stick with my current garbage person, who is this fascist MAGA pastor who's been a garbage person before. He is not satisfied with Donald Trump's current level of violations of the law, the Constitution, common decency. He wants Donald Trump to go way further. This is Joel Webbin, and here is how he put it.
If Trump is going to have a lasting legacy, he's going to have to cross the Rubicon and say, enough is enough. The judges, the mayors, the governors, not just a sternly worded tweet. No, armed guards, throwing them in jail. These are traitors to the United States. Thousands of civil officials over the last 5-6 years have committed treason. They need to be rounded up and thrown in prison. He needs to be the American Caesar. He must cross the Rubicon. He even tweeted out, I mean, we've got the president of the United States, Napoleon tweeting, right? He who saves his country violates no law. Yes and amen. So let's see it.
Okay, so he is my garbage person, not only for stealing my favorite quote there, and not only for whatever is going on with his beard and hair. I don't know what it is.
So good.
Go back and see. I think that at the very least, the hair on top of his head, I think he reapplies the color via Krylon spray paint every day. There's something weird going on there, but no, and it's not even really for the substance of what he's saying, where he's like, screw democracy, screw our Constitution. I want daddy to be in charge. Or that he goes on to say that the reason that they can impose their values, Christian fascists, on everyone else is because we're right. It's like almost that. I think that American men are facing a lot of obstacles and they're really struggling right now. And we need to help them out. And we're never gonna be able to help them if some of them are being led astray by the intellectually, morally, and physically weakest men that the world has ever seen. And that's a great example of it. To just say, well, we should be able to do it because we're right. That's nothing, man. I know that you think that you're like a theologian or a philosopher or something, but just saying, I get to do it because I'm right. That's pathetic. That's baby brained. That's a tiny little shriveled baby boy. And men need better. They need better standards, better role models than that. I'm not even saying to not be fascists or whatever. I'm not even setting the bar that high. But to create a better argument than we get to do it because we're right. Anyone could say that, man. That's nothing. That's literally nothing. And to train the next generation of American men to say, yeah, we could theoretically try to like debate each other, come up with a platform, run campaigns, candidates, ads. No, instead, we just get one guy in and then we round up and arrest, and probably, let's be clear, he wants them to be executed. All these people should just be executed. That's pathetic, okay? That's beneath anyone. Like, you may not like Ted Cruz or something, and I think he sucks too, but he has got infinitely more moral, intellectual, philosophical fiber to his being than this pathetic excuse for a man, cosplaying as a man. It's pathetic. He's the guy, by the way, that said that women who make false accusations of sexual assault should be executed for it. Obviously does not think that the men who do the sexual assaulting should be executed. It's just the most pathetic Andrew Tate, grifty, try hard nonsense. Brett, what do you think?
It's so funny. I think it's a disguise. Like, I think he's wearing a wig and a fake beard so that when he goes to the supermarket, people don't like accost him. Like, that's the benefit of the doubt I can give him, is that it's all an act for him to be a satirical version of whatever the hell of Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Charlie, like with all this podcast, and what do men need? We don't need anything. We don't need anything. We need the earth. We can find sticks and make fire. We don't need role models. We don't need podcast gurus. If you need that, you're not a real man. Honestly, like, you watch the movie Lucas. Charlie Sheen's like a football player who's nice to the dork. That's all you need. Is literally just be a football player who's nice to the dork and you're fine. Expand on that in any way that seems even a little germane to that core dynamic.
Yeah.
Play a sport. Be nice to the dorks.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't be this.
Rhymes.
And then other things, like I'm always reminded of like when Gavin Newsom sat down with Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk's like, I think it was that one, but it's like, I don't think the left can podcast because because podcasting is too masculine. And then he did that like leg cross where your balls get squished like you're juicing limes. And it's like, there's nothing less masculine than these podcasts where the dudes sit around for 3 hours talking about their feelings.
They're chatting.
You're just a bunch of little yenties, like just spinning around.
I think, look, at the very least, make it more efficient. You could be quilting as you're chatting. I mean, that's typically how that would be done. Like, yeah, do your little podcast or whatever, set up your fascist state, but also make me a nice quilt. You got the time, you're hanging out with your buddy or whatever. Anyway, they're just utterly pathetic, and that's all I have to say about that. Now, those are our garbage people of the week. 71,000 of you voted for the community garbage person of the week. 8% going to Mike Johnson for saying the Epstein files vote is moot. Hey, Mike. Is it looking moot now? Oh, you were so confident at that point. Anyway, 15% went to Trump for saying he doesn't want to hear about affordability. 31% to the Border Patrol for pepper spraying a 1-year-old. But 46% of you chose the community garbage people of the week. That's the Caving 8 for being weak Dems and caving on the shutdown. Thank you to everybody who voted. Now, 57,000 of you voted for the hero of the week. 10% going to Representative Ro Khanna for calling for Chuck Schumer to step down. I would have given him a vote as well if he had been able to make our surprise interview yesterday. But anyway, no, we're gonna talk to him soon. 11% going to Jon Stewart for ripping the Democrats for caving on the shutdown. Very close first and second place. 38% going to the Commanders fans for booing Trump during the game. But 41% went to the government employees for continuing to work with no paycheck, which is obviously very hard and not sustainable, by the way. But thank you to all of you who did your job, even as you were being so screwed over by your government. Okay, with that said, I think we have time to read a comment or two and then do one more story to close out this show. By the way, Robert Tables on Twitch said, the power of friendship is magical. So, jot that down.
I thought that's what you thought I was gonna say. When you started that, I was like, yeah, I thought you were gonna say like friendship or something.
Oh, no, I thought you'd be far more self-centered than that. Stickman Grit says, John, you have to understand that these are simple click farmers, people of the land, the common clay of the new social media, morons. It took me halfway through that quote to get that was a reference.
Morons.
To Blazing Saddles, I'm gonna say. Anyway.
Good for you, John.
Okay, which I have never watched from beginning to end. Even though I'm strangely the biggest potential Madeline Kahn fan in history, I think that she was a national treasure.
I was listening yesterday. I just put on music. I put on a record for my dad's old record of a Frankie Lane who sings the Rawhide, and Mel Brooks got him to do the Blazing Saddles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He wore a blazing saddle. He wore a shining star. Whoosh.
We'll leave some for when I watch the movie this weekend. Anyway, with that said, let's talk about stupid technology, starting with this. Elon Musk, despite recently being approved for a potential $1 trillion pay package, doesn't actually have much going on in a business sense, despite all the businesses that he technically runs. Nothing really going on with Tesla. People still aren't big fans of it. He was supposedly gonna fill American households with Optimus robots by a month ago, and obviously that's not working. So he's gotta take a big swing. After all, this guy's only product he ever actually sells is hype. And so here's his new idea for how to get more Optimus robots out there. He says, and I'm gonna say it like a human, you're gonna have to, in your mind, hear it like he would say it, where it takes 3 times as long. We might maybe able to give people if somebody's committed crime, a more humane form of containment of future crime, which is if you say you now get a free Optimus and it's just gonna follow you around and stop you from doing crime. But other than that, you get to do anything. It's just gonna stop you from committing crime. That's really it. You don't have to put people in prisons and stuff, I think. That could literally be, if you asked a 5-year-old boy, hey, how should we stop crime? Well, what if you had a robot and the robot was there, and if you tried a crime, the robot would stop you? He is a full-grown man in charge of 12 companies. He's the richest man in the world, and his idea is we're just gonna have robots following everyone around. Look, I understand. This isn't a real idea. This is just it's never gonna happen. But if it was, it's just to get the states to buy 1 million Optimus robots. But let's say that rather than locking people up or reforming them, you just do surveillance of them. You don't need a freaking robot. You can put a body cam and a mic on them. This is your efficient idea, genius of the world, Tony Stark in flesh and blood? That you have a bipedal robot following everyone around? And also, how's it gonna stop them from committing the crimes? It can't even go get me a soda right now. This is stupid in 10 different ways, Brett. What do you think?
This people don't understand this unless they know business people, unless they know startup folks, unless they know investment capitalists. This is how they talk. Their job is to BS you, and then just come up with ways to say the world will buy their crap. The channel Cheddar, Cheddar, when they were raising money, they were like, oh, we just did our model for how much viewership we'll get. And one of our core principles is that we will be on in student unions around the country. And so there are 30 million college students, so we'll have 30 million viewers a day. Like, that is an example of the type of thing that happens. And this is him being like, oh yeah, so I am Elon Musk. And then combine that with someone who has been successful. And you say he hasn't really sold hype. He's only really sold hype. He's sold rockets and he's sold cars. He really has. So he's done that. And he has been valued at very high dollar amounts. And it's like a comedian who has made it, where people start laughing at the joke before he's told it. Oh, it's not that he proves he's funny on a daily basis. I know he's funny. It's not that he proves he's a great businessman on a daily basis. He did that. I saw 2 movies, Tesla and SpaceX. And so now I am going to pretend I didn't see the earlier stuff, but I'm going to pretend I know all about it, even though he had very little to do with the success of those companies that he used to justify the actual companies that we hear about. But like, at the end of the day, like, the dude, he's just saying robots will follow you. So he wants 2 million. There's 2 million incarcerated people in America. You want 2 million robots on the street walking around doing what? Just potentially malfunctioning and tackling the wrong person? What happens when someone tries to do a crime? Do they punch him in the face? That sounds awesome, but would that really be a solution? Also, did you just become super duper woke where you're like, I don't want to send bad people to prison?
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah. Sure. And that's my favorite, like, last little wrinkle on it all.
Obviously. Yeah.
My last little wrinkle. Yeah, exactly. But my last little wrinkle on it all is like they end up reinventing stuff we pitched a long time ago. Yeah. Oh, we should have some kind of rehabilitation that keeps people from committing crimes and doesn't incarcerate them. Oh, Trump, I should, instead of tariffing people, I should put money in their pockets. Like, there's another way to do that. Did you just it reminds me of the guy who went on like that invention show and was like, I have this thing that you have a tank top, but then there's these bits of like material you can put on your arms. And they're like, did you just invent sleeves? That's people that think they're so smart.
Yeah.
And they call us elitists because we just point out you're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I'm just so I just want to be done with this. Can we get to the inevitable? I don't want to say. I'm going to make a joke about how I think this whole thing with Elon Musk ends. It was going to involve autoerotic asphyxiation. I'm not going to say it. You can fill in the blanks yourself. We got to close out the show. We're going to go do our members content, talk about golf for a little bit. I found an excuse. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to be joining Jake for the first hour of the Young Turks later on today. So definitely be there for now. Thank you, Brett. For the rest of you, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.